former member of KICME, and that was a great privilege for me and a great pleasure. But one of the most beneficial things of serving on KICME to me was the opportunity to meet Kevin and to be able to entice him to join us at Auburn. He was out at Naval Postgraduate School, and so I'll always be grateful to KICME for that opportunity. I don't know if Kevin feels the same way, but I feel that way. Kevin graduated from the Naval Academy in Annapolis, did his service as a nuclear submariner, so I'm sure he could tell you lots of stories about that, and then went to Georgia Tech to get his graduate degrees, and then out to Naval Postgraduate School out in Monterey, California, to be a professor in the business school. He was an associate professor when he came and joined us at Auburn, and I really think that's been a great move for our students because he has an incredible gift of instruction that is amazing, that he brings so much passion and joy and empathy along with technical excellence. Close your ears. So, yeah. No, seriously, I mean, and our students have really embraced his method of teaching and some of the innovative things that he's done in the classroom and outside, so we strongly benefited from that. On the research side, Kevin is known for his innovative work in material handling and more recently having to do with warehouse design, and a lot of that's been in conjunction with Russ Meller, who many of you know, but some of you don't, but Russ is, of course, a very strong leader also in material handling, education, and research. And Kevin is, in his spare time, he runs, yes, still.
Runs?
And
No.
No more. He used to run. And he's the father of 8 amazing children and a grandfather of 2, if you can believe it. So this is a guy who kind of excels on all fronts, and you get to hear him for an hour on storage systems.
Okay, well, thank you. That was much more than I deserved.
I'm going to start by saying in many ways this is going to be a non-traditional talk in that I'm not going to attempt to show you really interesting things or impress you with my oratory skills or anything like that. My goal really in this time is to help you take back things that you might be able to use on the teaching side. And in many ways, this talk should have gone before the one that just happened because this won't be nearly as good as what you just saw, first of all. And secondly, in the order of sort of progression of, if you think about manual to automated stuff, I'm going to talk a lot about manual stuff because when you go to warehouses today, that's really what you see. You just see a lot, in this country especially, you see a lot of people schlepping boxes around and driving forklifts and all of that sort of thing. And there are a lot of design and operational challenges that your students really need to know about if they're going to go into a work environment and make a positive difference there. And so that's really going to be my focus. I'm going to attempt to show you some things that I've done in storage systems design on the teaching side that might be helpful for you. So with that in mind, I actually want to start by just having a little conversation. And I was going to sit down and appear real relaxed, but I just got way too much energy to sit down, so I'm going to stand up. But I'm curious, how many of you are going to teach, you're pretty sure, teach a course in material handling or something like that, an entire course in the next year, entire course? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and how many of you will certainly or are considering importing or delivering anything from a class to a week to 2 or 3 weeks, a portion of a course in the next year? That didn't just raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, okay, almost everybody else. Okay, good. Now, for those who are, can you just give me a rough bit on, for those who are doing entire courses, what's the class size you anticipate? And I know you can't know that for sure, but.
The one I was teaching is the graduate level.
Yes, and also graduate or undergraduate, whichever.
Level. I
Graduate, you said?
Last line, 25.
Graduate, 25, okay. Somebody else?
Undergraduate, 25, 30.
Undergraduate, 25 to 30, okay.
Combined, 25.
Graduate and undergraduate for 25. These are wonderful class sizes, by the way. Congratulations.
Graduate 25.
Graduate, 25.
Undergraduate depends on the semester, but runs between 45 and 70.
Undergraduate, 45 to 70, okay.
Engineering technologist, senior 20.
Senior undergraduate, 20.
Undergraduate, 25.
Undergraduate, 25. Was there somebody else here? Is that it? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. And how many of you anticipate, in whichever setting you answered yes, delivering something in storage systems? And by that I mean sort of warehousing or order picking or anything like that. Some, most, okay. All right, good. Thank you. That's helpful. I really want to, oh, and how many of you will have a project in your course that might involve these kinds of things? Okay, about half of you. All right, good. I just want to get a feel for how to emphasize the material I've got. I got a lot of stuff here I could talk about. So let me get just right into it. So this is my take on how you could think about teaching storage systems. And roughly, you could think about sort of what I'll call manual systems and then automated systems. Almost everything I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes are manual systems. And by that, I mean people are driving around or walking around doing things in a warehouse, as opposed to automated systems, which you just saw really the leading edge of that stuff here in the last couple of hours, which was really great. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. I will mention a little bit on grid-based systems at the end if I have time for that. So if you're going to do a complete graduate course, or I guess even for that matter, in an undergraduate course in storage systems or material handling or warehousing, you could spend, and I spent an entire semester at the graduate level on just the manual part of this, and I sort of alluded to a little bit of this, just to give you some scope. And you might pull out little bits of what I'm going to do here to insert in your week or two if you're thinking about doing that in a broader logistics course or something like that. So if you have any questions about how I have delivered things or how you might deliver them and what you're thinking about, please bring those up. That's why we're here for the next hour. I really would like to hear your questions and ideas you've got on the teaching side. Okay, so I had to show this because we've seen it so many times already today or in the last couple of days, and I didn't know they already had that in there as you heard my question yesterday, so I'm not even going to go through that. This is the set of flows of how things work through a warehouse typically, but I also wanted to bring up this idea that the product itself transforms. It changes shape as it goes through. We've seen some allusions to that already today, from pallets to layers, maybe individual cartons and that sort of thing. This is a famous diagram from a publication, of which I have 2 copies, I'm happy to say, from the Naval Supply Systems Command. The Navy in the 1980s commissioned an entire book of warehousing, which is great, if only for the fact that the illustrations are absolutely wonderful. You'll see them in academic articles even today, so this is one of those from there. I've used several in papers that I've written. Okay, so here what I consider the fundamental questions of storage systems design, and that's the subject for today. First of all, there's the question of how do I arrange locations? So we walk into a warehouse and usually we think, all right, well there's racks and we just take that stuff as kind of a given. But someone had to decide, okay, the racks are going to go right there. And they had to decide that there was going to be a cross aisle right here. And that the picking aisles were going to be about that wide and so on. And so how to arrange or put those locations in a warehouse is sort of a first fundamental question. Where do I put stuff before I've even considered where to put the stuff in the location? I have to locate the locations. And then after that, then I have to locate the products or allocate the products to those locations. Again, I'm kind of at a high abstract level here. And then once I've got the product in the locations, then I have to decide, well, how do I get them out? Or sort of on the other side, how do I put them in? And that's a question of order picking or put away and that sort of thing, which Keishan went through with you yesterday. Yes, sir?
What about the number of locations?
Yes, sizing and all that. Yeah, I would wrap that probably up in here. Yeah, it's good. Also a good question. How large should the warehouse be? Capacity question. Is there a question in here? Okay. So I'm going to start really, and I'm going to not talk about this at all because you've already heard a session on this. I'm really going to just focus on these two questions and spend really the majority of time on the first one, which I'm going to call the layout question. All right, so first I'm going to address the question of how deep and wide should be a warehouse, and I'm just going to hit it at a high level. I hit this in the course. This is something you'd want to talk about probably if you're going to talk about warehouse design. How deep should the racks be? Single deep, double deep? What are the issues that go on there? That's another topic you could mention in your course. And then how wide should these aisles be? There's a whole bunch of issues related to aisle width. And then finally, how should these picking aisles and cross aisles be arranged? And it's not a brand new question, but it's a question that some research has been done recently that you might want to incorporate into your classes. And I'll spend actually, because I had some part to do with this work, I'll spend a little bit of time on that just because I think it's fun. All right, so here's the question of width and depth. These are actually square warehouses. And of course, it doesn't have to be square. I could make it twice as wide as it is deep, for example. And that's a question that has to get answered, even if just by default when you're designing a storage space. And that's something you'll want to go through with your students. And all the major textbooks cover this kind of issue. And there's some very predictable and easy calculations you can go through to show travel advantages and disadvantages and all that kind of thing in here. And related to that would be whether or not there is a cross aisle in the middle. I'm going to allude to that question in just a moment. Okay, so this is a single deep warehouse, by which I mean every storage location can be accessed directly from an aisle. This is obviously not really to scale. This is as dense as it could be. This one's double deep because some of the locations can't be accessed unless I move this thing